G'day, I'm Paul. So while we wait for the meatier off-road version of the Navara called the Navara Warrior, Nissan's rolled out the current off-road spec. It's called the Pro-4X, and this is the one that we saw a little while back when Nissan actually revealed the updated Navara. Now we finally have a chance to drive it, and I want to see if it's any good. This competes with things like the Ford Ranger, the Toyota HiLux, the Isuzu D-Max. There are a number of competitors in that segment. This is priced at just over $60,000 for the automatic version, a little less for the manual. And if that's a little bit too much, the entire range starts at just over $30,000. So there is something in there to suit everybody. Today we're going to do a detailed review of this ute. If you do want to skip ahead to other parts of the review, you can use the time codes up on the screen there. Or if you're on YouTube, just scroll down and use the chapters below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon as well, so you can find out every single time we drive a new ute. Let's talk exterior. So you've got 4 external colors to pick from. This one here is unique to the Pro-4X, and then white and black are the free ones, and then you've got 2 additional ones, including this one that are $650 extra. What is the difference with the Pro-4X? So you'll notice if you've watched our STX review, which is the step down from this, there was a whole lot of chrome on the front there. So Pro-4X deletes all of that chrome and just goes black with everything. So you can see here with that grille, it's all black around the edges. And I think this just looks much better than the STX in terms of, I don't know, having that rugged appearance. The STX looks a little bit more, I guess, conservative and stylish, whereas this has a bit more presence to it. And then they highlight parts of it with these red bits here. So this is traditionally where you would have a recovery hook in something like a HiLux Rugged X, but here it's just a blanked plate there. I think when the Navara Warrior comes, that's going to be the off-road focused version. They'll probably do away with all of this and go down the path of that steel bumper bar to again give it more of a rugged appearance. That black Nissan logo I think looks pretty good as well. Over here you have a set of full LED headlights with LED daytime running lights, the indicators built into there as well. LED fog lights down the side. Now if we whip around to the side here, you get a set of 18-inch alloy wheels with all-terrain tyres. You've got this black wheel arch cladding with more of that red highlight in there. You can see here with the all-terrain tyres that they have the black alloy and also the white lettering on them. Now let me know in the comments section, do you reckon this looks too small from the side? I don't know, I get some angles of this and yeah, the tyre just looks too small for the body. It's almost like they needed to go another size up to give it a bit more definition and presence. But yeah, anyway, let me know your thoughts. More black highlights around the side here on the wing mirror with the camera built in. Black side steps, you also get black roof rails, privacy glass, black door handles. You can see the theme continuing around the back here with the sailplane and black sports bar, and then Pro-4X lettering and more of that wheel arch cladding. And then come around to the back, I'll show you what they've done here. So while there's no Pro-4X branding along the back here, you do have LED tail lights, and that color is integrated into the bottom of the bumper bar there. And then another black Nissan badge and Navara embossed on the tray there. Now the interesting thing with the updated Navara is there's no more sort of plastic cover up the top here. So whenever you are putting things into the tray and leaning it on here, you're going to end up scratching this. So I think it's a bit disappointing that they got rid of that. It does look cool with that little lip on there, but they really should have kept that protection along the top. Tailgate has a torsion bar built into it. And then in terms of the specs of the tray, it comes with a 1469mm load length, a 1560mm load width, and 1134mm between the wheel arches. And in addition to that, you get a 1,000 kilo payload, or a little over 1,000 kilos. Also in the tray, you get a Navara badge. You have these adjustable hooks that slide along the rail. For the most part, this is a pretty decent setup, and then the torsion bar makes this easier to close as well, which is handy. You also have a 3.5 ton brake towing capacity, and then a step here to retrieve things from the tray. So we're inside the Navara Pro-4X. We'll start with the key. Here it is. So you have the Nissan logo at the top, lock, unlock, and then a blank, and then nothing on the back. It's a proximity sensing key. Once you're inside, you've got a push button start up the top there. So this will look very familiar to the previous generation of the Navara and also the rest of the Navara range. There aren't a great deal of changes here inside the cabin for the Pro-4X. So that means you're still getting that rugged and fairly durable dashboard there. They really haven't gone to any effort to make that soft or, I don't know, they haven't really gone to any effort to make it high class like a lot of the other competitors in this segment. When you look at stuff like the D-Max now, that really has some nice finishes along the dashboard there, and it gives it that sort of premium feel. When you're spending that circa $60,000 on a ute, which is the same price as the D-Max X-Terrain, for example, you really want to make it feel special, and I think this kind of lacks just a little bit of that. Around the infotainment system there, you've got that piano black finish along with down here as well. In terms of the touch points, the center console here is pretty nice and soft, and it's got that stitching alongside it, and it's the same story over on the door there, so your contact points are pretty decent. How soft are they? Well, we've got our gyrometer. We've tested the main surfaces in this cabin. If you want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description. Now, what about build quality? Actually all feels pretty decent here. Everything is in place and nothing's moving around too much. Okay, let's talk infotainment. So today I'm going to give you a brief overview of this infotainment system. If you want to see a detailed review, you can click up here to watch one that we recorded previously. So it's an 8-inch infotainment system with shortcut buttons either side. It comes inbuilt with satellite navigation. And then in terms of audio, you have AM, FM, and DAB plus digital radio. But you can also hook up smartphone mirroring. So I'll show you what Apple CarPlay looks like. Both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both wired, but like you can see here, it's a pretty decent integration. Full screen, nice and sharp and fast. Then in both of those systems, you can use voice recognition. There is an inbuilt voice recognition system within the car as well. Works okay, but it's not amazing, so I'd recommend using the smartphone mirroring instead of just relying on the car's voice recognition system. Now, I'll show you what Android Auto looks like. So again, full screen integration. That's also nice and quick and easy to use as well. Let me know in the comments section below, do you prefer Android Auto or Apple CarPlay? We actually shot a comparison video comparing the two technologies and doing a few tests. You can watch that by clicking up here. Now, ahead of the driver, there is another screen as well. This gives you information such as your trip computer, off-road controls, and also a compass and your safety systems as well. So nice integration, looks nice and neat, and I don't know, gives this car a little bit more of a tech presence. Let's talk about safety. So you have low and high speed autonomous emergency braking. You have an auto dimming rear vision mirror, blind spot monitoring built into the wing mirror. You do have a lane departure warning and a lane keeping assistant, but because this uses a hydraulic steering rack still, it's the system that will pulse the brakes. So it doesn't actually pull at the steering wheel lightly. It's quite intrusive, and I don't know, I just switch that stuff off because it gets really annoying every time it tries to jar the car back into the lane instead of just suggesting it back into the lane like a lot of other cars do. There also is no radar cruise control, which is pretty disappointing. You can't even get it as an option on this car. In terms of the parking technology, you have a 360-degree camera. I'll show you what that looks like. So there it is there. The quality of it is okay. It's not amazing. You can see it's quite low resolution. And then in terms of the 360 view, you can't really see much around the car. This is useful for off-road driving though. So when we do go off-road, you'll see there is a mode that you can select where it actually shows you which direction the car's tracking in. So that's going to be useful when you do finally head off the beaten track. Let's talk practicality, and we'll start with our connectivity. So you've got one USB port down the front here with an auxiliary outlet plus a 12-volt outlet. But if you open the center console, there is a USB-C outlet and then another USB-A plus a 12-volt as well. In terms of storage, your phone can live virtually anywhere here. You've got storage room down the front there. It isn't wireless charging, so there's kind of no point resting your phone down there. You do have two slots off to the side there if you do want to pop your phone there instead, or simply stick it in the center of these cup holders. In terms of cup holders, your coffee cup fits fairly well through there. The lid will catch on the side, so if you do have a smaller coffee cup like this, it's probably going to end up a little messy if that lid does come off. But in terms of your bottle storage, that easily fits in the sides there. And then what about our big bottle? See if that fits inside the doors. Yes, it does. Good news. You have a center console there. It's reasonably sized. It's got quite a wide aperture and it's fairly deep, but can't really get a great deal into there. And then finally you have your glove box there, which once the manual's in there, you can't really fit anything else in there. But you do get sunglasses storage up the top here. It is worth pointing out that the pre-facelift version of the Navara actually had cup holders beneath the air vents, whereas they've now strangely been removed. So you don't have the option of keeping your coffee warm in the morning or your drink cool in the afternoon. Now, in terms of comfort features, you have dual zone automatic climate control, but there is a frustrating point here. So with the STX, you can option in a package that brings a sunroof, the leather seats, electric seat adjustment, and seat heating. This doesn't have any of that. So yes, you do get your leather seats, but there's no seat heating, there's no sunroof, and there's no option even to get the electric seat adjustment, despite the fact this is the top spec model. So that is a strange omission. But you do get these seats. They have Pro-4X insignia on them, and then they have that rib finish on the back of the seat as well, with red stitching and then white stitching off to the side. So seats do look cool. I just wish they were electrically adjustable and actually had a few more features on them. In terms of the seats themselves, they are comfortable. They're nice to sit in, and your steering wheel only offers tilt adjustment. There is no reach adjustment. In terms of your controls, though, they're all easy to reach while you're driving. Now, before I hop into the back, I want to show you what it looks like under here. So that base lifts and that exposes this. So you have storage on both sides. That side has the jack in it, and then that one's empty. So if you do have any valuables that you don't want people seeing, you can kind of stick them under there. And if you want this to stay up, you can attach this over here, and then that stays in position. But when you're ready to sit down, you drop that out of the way. You've got a grab handle here to hop in. Alrighty. Once you're inside, what's room like? Well, knee room is pretty reasonable. Toe room is okay. It's a little bit compromised, but it's fine. Headroom is not too bad as well. You've got air vents down here. You also have a USB charge point, a center armrest with 2 cup holders. See if that fits in our bottle. No dramas there. And then our big bottle. We'll see if that fits inside the door. No, not quite. It sort of just gets stuck there, but it does fit the other size bottle. If you do have kids, you have ISOFIX anchorage points on the 2 outboard seats, and then you have top tether points along the top there as well. And then the other cool thing is that this window opens, so the driver is able to open that for a little bit of extra airflow into the cabin. Right, so we're on the road in the Navara. Now let's talk about the drivetrain. So powering this is a 2.3 litre twin turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel engine. Makes 140 kilowatts of power and 450 Newton meters of torque, and that's all mated to a 7-speed automatic transmission. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, 450 doesn't sound like a great deal. Well, it kind of isn't in the grand scheme of things, because Ranger and HiLux are now at that 500 mark. Isuzu D-Max is finally at 450, but the segment has kind of moved forward, and if you have a think about this as being a facelift, really now would have been the perfect opportunity to give this a little bit more grunt. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. What does it feel like behind the wheel though? So let's give this a little kick. Look, it's okay. It's not slow. It just doesn't really give you that shunt in the back that you get with a HiLux or a Ranger. It kind of just feels very gentle as opposed to anything significant. So yeah, not terrible, but not really amazing. Nissan claims a combined fuel economy of 8.1 litres per 100 Ks. We're currently sitting on 9.2, so that's close enough. This is over a drive distance of about 600 kilometres, so that's pretty impressive when you consider we've been doing a fair bit of city driving and some low-speed off-road driving as well, so that's pretty reasonable. Let's talk drive modes. So you've actually got a few to pick from here, which is kind of interesting. You have normal, sport, tow, and off-road. So I'll show you off-road when we go and do some light off-roading. Standard is just for your standard driving. Sport kind of puts the gearbox into that fun mode where it starts holding gears and anticipates your every move. And then tow is a mode where it's going to try and use the engine's torque while you're towing. I'm going to pop it into sport now though, just to see what it's like as we punt it through a corner here. Yeah, look, it's not too bad. It kind of holds the gears well. The gearbox is doing a decent job of giving me that sporty feedback, and given it's a twin turbo setup, it actually feels nice and punchy about that mid-range section, which is good. In terms of steering feel, it's a hydraulically assisted steering rack. It's not an e-pass or electrically assisted rack like a lot of other cars in this segment, so it does feel quite heavy, but it's not quite as heavy as something like a HiLux, so even when it comes to parking, you're not going to have to put too much effort in. Now, Nissan doesn't have a 0 to 100 time for the Navara, but we've put it up against our stopwatch to see how it goes. Let's talk about ride. So one of the things that Nissan prides itself on with Navara is the coil sprung rear end. It's one of the few utes in the segment that actually does away with leaf springs, but still retains the capacity of payload and, you know, the things that make this a ute. And it doesn't really trade it off in terms of comfort. They've finally, after I think 5 iterations now, got the comfort ride, and the ride really does suit the demeanor. It can be a little bit jittery, and if you do catch kind of continuous bumps or corrugations, it can get a little bit floaty, so that shows you that it doesn't have the best body control. But for the most part, it actually does feel quite planted and nice to drive, especially out here in the country where it can get really choppy very quickly, and if you drop a wheel off to the side of the road, you can find that sections of it fall away. So it does feel nice. It just doesn't feel quite as well-rounded as something like a Ford Ranger. And in terms of road noise, it's pretty compliant. I would have expected a bit more road noise to come in through the tyres, given that they are all-terrain tyres, but it isn't actually too bad, and I don't really hear a great deal of wind noise either. So this stuff's important. If you're spending a lot of time behind the wheel and doing a lot of highway driving and perhaps a bit of towing, you really want a ute that keeps nice and quiet out on these roads, and I think this really meets all of those objectives. Now let's talk turning circles. So 12.5 metres, it's pretty standard for a vehicle in this segment. Let's do a U-turn test here. It does feel a little wide actually. It's going to need 3-point turns every now and then. Let's talk visibility. So big wing mirrors mean you get decent visibility down the side of your ute, and then you get blind spot monitoring built in as well. So it means that you can catch any rogue people around the vehicle. Rear visibility is good, but the headrests are pretty big on the outer edges. But for the most part, you can see straight down the center there. And of course you have that window that opens and closes, which is a pretty handy feature. Okay, time for some light off-roading. Now, I've got to explain something really quickly. Normally we do a little bit of light off-roading, but today it's like extra light because they've changed the course here without us knowing. So there's a whole bunch of sand here. We don't get the big rocks on the way down. So look, it's not amazing, but what I'm going to do for our next off-road video is pick something a little more challenging around here, and then we'll test each of the vehicles that we drive here against the same obstacles and give them kind of like a rating of pass or fail. So leave that with me. I'll have it for our next video that has some off-road driving. But today, it is extremely muddy and wet around here. So yes, while this has become easier, it's probably still going to be a little bit of a challenge, but you know, we've got the all-terrain tyres. Now, Pro-4X, it is kind of the off-road model, but the off-road specs aren't as good as the STX, which I find a little bit confusing. So yes, it does have the all-terrain tyres, but you have 220 millimeters of ground clearance, which is slightly less than the STX. You have a 32-degree approach angle. That's the angle of the face you can approach before you hit something. Again, less than the STX. And finally, you have a 19.8-degree departure angle, which is the same angle, but in reverse. You get the same 600 millimeter weighting depth. In terms of four-wheel drive controls, it's a full-time two-wheel drive, but you can drive it in four-wheel drive high range and four-wheel drive low range. There's a rear differential lock and hill descent control as well. Now, if that is a little confusing too and you want to get a better understanding of when you should use these controls, click up here to watch our four-wheel drive controls explain video. But today I'm just going to use four-wheel drive high range, and then I'm also going to dial in off-road mode, which will tailor the stability control for what we need. You can see that four-wheel drive is active with that little marker down there. Let's give this a little shot here. Like I said, it is super muddy out here at the moment, so even though we have the all-terrains, actually this is doing a pretty commendable job. Yeah, it's slippery AF up there, and I guess it kind of shows you just how much more latitude you get with all-terrain tyres over just a standard road tyre. They're currently pretty much full of mud, but if this was a road tyre, it would fill much faster. The other thing I like up here is if I engage the camera, you actually get a really good commanding view of what's coming up, and the guidelines move with the wheel as well, so I can see exactly where the cars, or the ute rather, is going to go, and then I can kind of position it exactly where I need it to go. So yeah, like I mentioned, this has all been filled with sand now, so we can't see exactly where we're going to touch down compared to those other utes. I'm going to pop hill descent control on. Let's just see how that goes. So that's active. Little lights just come on. I'll let go of the brake. Wow, that is way too quick. That's kind of just running away there. I'm going to have to take over there. And see, that's actually really not good, because on this kind of terrain here where it is super muddy and we're filling those tyres, with ABS, when you stand on the brakes, it kind of runs a little further than it needs to. And with the hill descent control that's a little too adventurous, you get into a position where you really just can't control the car. So I would like to be able to slow that down. I can't really see any controls here that actually let me do that. So overall, yes, it is good because it's got the all-terrain tyres and it kind of walked up there even though it is very muddy. But yeah, I think that I would like an adjustment to that hill descent control to be able to slow it down a bit. And it is a tiny bit disappointing that some of the off-road specs aren't as good as the model beneath this. So I think we need to wait for the Warrior to come for that proper off-road credential. So the Navara Pro-4X, what do we reckon? Look, I'm kind of in two minds about it. I'm pretty disappointed that it doesn't get some of the features that you can get on the model beneath it. Not even as options. Surely you would have a tick box somewhere that gives you the ability to put a sunroof, electric seats and heated seats in, but it's not available for some reason. So yeah, if you discount those things, I think it actually looks pretty good. It looks great with all the black highlighted sections and you don't have those flashy chrome bits, and they've done a good job in terms of the styling. I'm a little disappointed that they've gone down the path of painting the back of this instead of just having that plastic cover. I think long term that's going to annoy people that hang anything over the edge of their trays. You're gonna have to put a protector over that. And I still don't think it stacks up against things like the D-Max X-Terrain. I think that really is just a better value proposition and just a better all-rounder in the segment. So let's wait until the Navara Warrior arrives. I think that will really bridge the gap between that STX variant and then the top spec. That'll be off-road focused and probably just a little more hardcore than this thing is, although it does pretty well with the all-terrain tyres. So let me know in the comments section below, what do you reckon? Have you bought one of these? What did you think about it? Or did you skip it because you couldn't get some of those extra features? And what did you buy instead? Let me know in the comments section below. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you hit the like button. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon so you can find out every single time we drive a new ute. But until next time, take it easy.